Ancient builders reshaped the world with secrets lost for centuries. We are uncovering 25 architectural marvels that transformed early civilizations, turning wandering tribes into powerful empires. By the end of this journey, you will see human history in a completely new way. How did cultures move 80-ton statues across entire islands? Why would a pyramid be built with a secret internal ramp? These are the blueprints of human progress, hidden in plain sight. What does true ingenuity look like when you have nothing but stone and ambition? High in the misty peaks of the Andes, the stone walls of Machu Picchu stand as a silent testament to a forgotten genius. These are not merely stacked rocks, they are a complex three-dimensional puzzle, each block perfectly interlocked with its neighbors. The technique is called ashlar masonry, a method so precise that even after centuries, you cannot force the thin blade of a knife between the stones. And they used no mortar, no sticky paste to hold them together. So how did they achieve this flawless fit with only bronze tools and stone hammers? The answer lies in a symphony of patient skill. Artisans would have painstakingly pounded the stones with harder rock hammers, slowly shaping them. Then they used abrasive sand and water to grind the surfaces, polishing the contact points until they met in absolute perfection. This was not a rushed job, it was an act of reverence for the stone itself, but the true brilliance of this method reveals itself during an earthquake. While rigid, mortared walls would crack and crumble, these interlocking stones are designed to dance. When the ground shakes, the entire structure shudders and sways, the stones moving as one, and then, as the tremor passes, they settle perfectly back into their original positions. This is architecture that breathes with the mountain, a resilient partnership between human creation and the powerful earth. Such mastery in joining stone hints at an even greater puzzle, one that begins long before the first block was set in place. How did they move these colossal rocks up such impossible terrain? The same question of moving the immovable echoes from the Andes to the most remote inhabited island on Earth. On the windswept plains of Easter Island, nearly 900 stone giants stand in silent vigil. These Moai, carved from volcanic rock, are monuments of pure mystery. Some of these figures weigh more than 80 tons, as much as a herd of elephants, and they were moved miles from the quarry to their coastal platforms across a rugged, unforgiving landscape. For centuries, this was one of history's great riddles. How could a people with simple technology achieve such a thing? One compelling answer is as elegant as it is astonishing. They may have made the statues walk. Recent experiments by archaeologists suggest the islanders used a system of ropes and coordinated human effort. Teams would have carefully rocked the massive monoliths from side to side, inching them forward with each rhythmic sway. It looks less like dragging and more like a slow, deliberate procession. This was not brute force, but a profound understanding of balance and momentum. Every tug of the rope, every shift in weight required perfect harmony. This monumental task transformed the very fabric of Rapa Nui society. It mobilized entire communities around a shared spiritual and engineering goal, turning abstract belief into a tangible, collective action that literally moved mountains. The true secret here is not just the physics of walking statues, but the social cohesion that made it possible. This deep communal drive to shape the world is a thread that connects islands and continents, leading us to the next great mystery of collective effort, the enigma of pyramid construction. The sheer scale of the Great Pyramid of Giza defies belief, a mountain of stone built with a precision that humbles modern engineering. For generations, the prevailing image of its construction involved a massive, straight external ramp stretching for nearly a mile into the desert, a colossal undertaking in its own right. But that long-accepted theory creates its own immense puzzle. The logistics of such a ramp would have been almost as monumental as the pyramid itself. The real architectural secret, however, may be hidden deep within the structure's own heart. A compelling theory, supported by sophisticated microgravimetric surveys that measure tiny variations in density, suggests the builders used a completely different approach. They may have constructed an internal spiral ramp, a corkscrewing tunnel that wound its way up inside the pyramid's growing shell. Imagine workers hauling massive stone blocks not up an exposed mountainside of sand and timber, but through a dimly lit, protected passage that they were building around themselves. This internal highway would have allowed for continuous, efficient construction from the inside out, turning the pyramid into its own ever-rising scaffold. It was a stroke of logistical genius, a solution that maximized effort and minimized the vast external infrastructure once thought necessary. This clever use of internal space reflects an almost modern understanding of spatial planning and workflow. It also forces us to wonder if such a major feature has remained unseen for thousands of years. What other hidden passageways and sealed chambers might still lie undiscovered within these ancient stones? This mastery over solid earth finds a parallel in another elemental force, one that ancient builders learned to command with equal brilliance. The next secret flows not through stone, but through water. Deep within the rose-red cliffs of Petra, the true wonder is not what you see, but what you cannot. While the famous treasury facade captures every gaze, the city's survival was carved from a secret mastery of an element far more precious than stone: water. In a desert landscape that might see only a few inches of rain each year, the Nabateans performed a kind of hydrological magic. They designed their entire city as a massive water collection system, turning the cliffs themselves into tools for capturing and controlling every single drop. An intricate web of underground channels, dams, and cisterns lay hidden beneath the streets and within the rock. This was not a simple network. It was a sophisticated, multi-stage process for purifying and preserving life itself. Water flowing down from the highlands would first be channeled into specially designed settling tanks. Here, the flow would slow, allowing sand and sediment to sink to the bottom before the cleaner water continued its journey. Then, a system of terracotta pipes, sealed to prevent leaks, would carry this vital resource through tunnels and into vast, hidden reservoirs. These cisterns were carved so deep into the rock that they kept the water cool and prevented evaporation under the relentless desert sun. This genius was as much about prevention as provision. During rare but violent flash floods, the Nabateans built massive diversion dams and overflow channels to redirect the destructive torrents safely away from their city center. They were not just collecting water, they were negotiating with the desert's fury. This invisible infrastructure transformed a barren canyon into a lush, thriving oasis and a powerful hub on the incense trade routes. Caravans traveling for months across the arid wilderness would find in Petra not just shelter, but a guaranteed, abundant supply of fresh water, a commodity more valuable than any spice. The city's grandeur was built not on rock alone, but on this hidden, life-giving network. It stands as a profound lesson that the most critical architectural elements are often the ones you never see. How do you build for comfort in a harsh climate when you cannot simply bring the water to you? This challenge leads us to an invention that turned buildings into living, breathing entities, mastering the air itself. While the Nabateans mastered water in the desert, Persian architects achieved something just as remarkable. they learned to build with the wind itself. In the relentless heat of the Persian plateau, they raised badgers, structures known as wind catchers that turned silent breezes into a life-giving force. These tall, elegant towers rise above city skylines not as monuments, but as ingenious machines with no moving parts. Their design is a masterclass in passive cooling, a perfect marriage of architecture and environmental physics. The principle is beautifully simple. The tower captures cooler, faster-moving winds high above the ground and funnels them downward into the heart of the building below. But the true magic often happened when this captured breeze was combined with another Persian invention, the Qanat. These were hidden underground canals that brought fresh water from distant mountains. As the wind was drawn down the tower shaft, it would be directed over the surface of these cool water channels or into a central courtyard pool. The air would drop in temperature, sometimes by a dramatic margin, before flowing into the living spaces. This process created a comfortable microclimate entirely without mechanical power, a natural air conditioning system perfected over 1,000 years ago. The design of each wind catcher was a tailored response to its specific location. Some have multiple openings to capture winds from any direction, while others are oriented to catch a single prevailing breeze. The height, the internal channels, the arrangement of vents, all were calibrated to local wind patterns and the unique needs of the building. This was not a one-size-fits-all solution. It was hyper-local climate control, an architecture deeply in conversation with its immediate environment. This elegant system allowed civilizations not just to survive, but to truly flourish, creating centers of culture, commerce, and learning in some of the most challenging climates on Earth. It demonstrates a profound truth that the greatest architectural secrets are often those that work in harmony with the natural world, not against it. This sophisticated control of the environment on a single building scale makes you wonder what happens when an entire city is designed with that same conscious intent. The same foresight that built with wind and water found its ultimate expression in the organized streets of a city that thrived over 4,000 years ago. Mohenjo-Daro, a jewel of the Indus Valley civilization, was not a place that simply grew. It was a city that was meticulously thought out before the first brick was ever laid. Its secret was a radical idea for its time, the gridiron plan. Streets ran in perfect north-south and east-west alignments, creating city blocks of stunning regularity. This was not a chaotic, organic settlement. It was a masterwork of urban design, and its purpose went far beyond simple order. This precise layout facilitated efficient movement for trade and communication, turning the city into a vibrant, flowing economic hub. But the true genius of this plan lay beneath the streets, in a network that served the most basic human need, sanitation. The city boasted the world's first known, comprehensive urban sanitation system. Almost every house had its own private bathroom and a dedicated well, supplying fresh water, and this wastewater did not simply flow into the streets. It was channeled into covered drains that ran along the main avenues, designed with inspection traps for maintenance, all leading to outlets beyond the city walls. This was public health engineering on a colossal scale, conceived at the very dawn of urban life. The entire system relied on a hidden foundation of standardization. The bricks used throughout Mohenjo-Daro were manufactured in perfectly consistent, standardized ratios. This meant that every component, from a house wall to a section of drain, could be built by different people yet still fit together perfectly. This shared standard points to a society with a powerful central authority or a deeply ingrained collective vision, one that valued communal well-being and hygiene above all else. They built not just for themselves but for the health and order of the entire community, creating a blueprint for urban living that would not be rivaled for millennia. Such a profound connection between earthly order and communal life invites a question: how did other ancient cultures seek to bring order to the cosmos itself? This search for cosmic harmony leads us from the planned streets of Mohenjo-Daro to the mysterious, aligned stones on a windswept English plain. Across the sea, a different kind of order was being carved into the landscape of ancient Britain. Stonehenge rises from the Salisbury Plain not as a fortress or a palace, but as a silent machine built for reading the sky. Its architects were astronomers in stone, aligning the massive Sarsen pillars and lintels with a precision that captures the sun's journey at its most extreme points. On the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, casting its long rays into the very heart of the circle. This was no accident. It was a deliberate, breathtaking act of architectural alignment. But the mystery deepens with the smaller inner stones, the blue stones. Their origin lies in the Preseli Hills of Wales, a staggering journey of over 150 miles. Why would a civilization with only stone tools and wooden rollers go to such extraordinary effort? The answer speaks to a significance that transcended the purely practical, imbuing the site with a spiritual power drawn from a distant, sacred landscape. The architectural secret of Stonehenge is this fusion of immense physical labor with celestial mathematics. By creating a stable, permanent marker for the solstices, the builders gave their world a predictable rhythm. They could mark the passing years, anticipate the changing seasons for planting and harvest, and coordinate their most important rituals with the cosmic clock. This stone calendar provided a framework of certainty in a life governed by natural cycles, turning the chaotic movements of the heavens into a dependable structure for society. The profound connection to the cosmos demonstrated here makes us wonder about other structures that sought to mirror the heavens on an even grander scale. The pyramids of Giza do not just rest upon the earth, they are anchored to the sky. Their arrangement across the desert plateau is a perfect terrestrial reflection of the three bright stars that form the belt of the Orion constellation. This is no vague resemblance, it is a precise architectural map, with the Nile River mirroring the Milky Way in this grand cosmic blueprint. But the celestial encoding goes even deeper, reaching inside the Great Pyramid itself. Narrow, claustrophobic shafts, once thought to be simple air vents, were engineered with an astonishing purpose. They are precisely angled telescopes of stone, pointing directly to specific stars that held profound meaning for the ancient Egyptians. One shaft aligns with the northern pole star, a fixed point in the heavens, while another targets Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, associated with the goddess Isis. This was not merely decoration, it was a spiritual technology. The pharaoh's soul was believed to use these shafts as a pathway, a cosmic launch tube to travel from his earthly resting place directly to the eternal realm of the stars. The secret here is the seamless fusion of deep spiritual belief with meticulous, long-term astronomical observation. To achieve such perfect alignments, the builders needed an advanced understanding of a slow, grinding celestial dance known as precession, the gradual wobble of Earth's axis that shifts our view of the stars over a cycle of 26,000 years. They were not just building for their present moment, they were encoding knowledge into stone that would remain true for epochs. This required observing the night sky for generations, carefully noting the slow drift of constellations with an accuracy that seems to defy the era. This monumental achievement forces a very practical question. How could ancient surveyors, without modern tools, translate such complex celestial coordinates into a foundation of perfectly square, perfectly aligned stone? The answer must lie in the very systems they used to measure their world. That same obsession with precision, seen in the cosmic alignments of the pyramids, demanded a universal language of measure. In the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, the birthplace of cities, this language was codified into the world's first standardized measurement systems. The architects and administrators of empires like Sumer and Babylon did not rely on arbitrary rules. Their fundamental unit of length, the cubit, was derived from the human body, specifically the distance from a man's elbow to the tip of his middle finger. This was a stroke of genius because it created a measure that was instantly reproducible by anyone, anywhere. Similarly, the shekel, a unit of weight, was based on the mass of a specific number of grains of barley. These were not abstract numbers, they were standards rooted in the human scale and the natural world, ensuring fairness and consistency from the royal palace to the farthest market stall. The architectural secret embedded in this system was its power to coordinate. Imagine a king ordering a new ziggurat to be built in a distant city. With a standardized cubit, the architects at the site could work from plans sent from the capital, confident that every brick, every doorway, and every tier would match the intended design. This uniformity allowed for the mass production of bricks, the efficient allocation of materials, and the management of thousands of workers across vast distances, all singing from the same architectural sheet of music. This was the invisible framework that made monumental, consistent construction possible, but this system's influence went far deeper than bricks and mortar. Standardized measurement was the bedrock of law, creating a consistent framework for land ownership and contracts. It was the engine of the economy, enabling fair trade and taxation across empires. It structured society itself, turning chaotic human interaction into an orderly, predictable system. The true marvel is that this ancient innovation is the direct ancestor of every ruler, every scale, and every blueprint we use today. It was the foundational code for civilization. This revolutionary leap in building with order and precision would soon be matched by an equally revolutionary leap in the very substance of building itself. That same drive for order and precision led to a material so revolutionary it would reshape the entire ancient world. While others built for their time, the Romans built for eternity, and their secret was a seemingly magical stone soup. They developed a concrete that could not only set underwater but actually grow stronger with each passing century. This was not the brittle concrete we know today. Its legendary recipe was a carefully guarded combination of lime, seawater, and a special volcanic ash known as pozzolana. When these humble ingredients were mixed, they triggered a slow-burning chemical reaction deep within the material. Over decades, crystals of a mineral called aluminous tobermorite began to form, interlocking in a dense, resilient matrix that could withstand the constant pounding of ocean waves. This is why the great Roman harbor at Caesarea Maritima still stands, its concrete piers intact after 2,000 years submerged in the Mediterranean Sea. This material's ultimate test is the Pantheon in Rome. Its magnificent dome, spanning over 140 feet, remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built. It is a single, seamless shell of Roman concrete, a perfect hemisphere that has defied earthquakes, invasions, and the elements for nearly 2 millennia. Modern engineers still struggle to replicate its unique combination of strength and durability. The Romans achieved this not with complex theories, but through generations of empirical experimentation, a deep, hands-on understanding of chemistry that was lost for over 1,000 years after their empire fell. The survival of their structures forces us to confront a humbling thought. What other formulas for resilience perfected over centuries have simply vanished from our collective memory? This search for lost strength leads us to another ancient puzzle, one forged not in lime and ash but in fire and metal. That same search for eternal strength in stone led to a solution forged in fire. Across the ancient world, from the sun-drenched temples of Greece to the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, builders arrived at the same brilliant answer. They literally poured metal around their stones. These were not simple brackets, they were complex interlocking clamps, often cast in place by pouring molten metal directly into precisely carved channels in adjoining stone blocks. As the liquid metal cooled and hardened, it fused the massive blocks into a single, unshakable unit. What is truly astonishing is how cultures with no contact with one another developed this technique independently, each tailoring the solution to their own environment and resources. In the Americas, at sites like Tiwanaku and Ollantaytambo, the clamps were not common iron, but a unique silvery alloy of copper and arsenic. This was not a random choice. This specific blend created a metal that was incredibly hard and resistant to corrosion, perfectly suited to the harsh Andean climate. Meanwhile, in the Greek and Roman world, iron and lead were the materials of choice, with lead's malleability providing a different kind of flexible strength. The secret here goes far beyond just using metal as a glue. It reveals a profound, almost intuitive understanding of materials science. These ancient engineers were grappling with the concept of thermal expansion, the way materials expand and contract with changes in temperature. By locking stones together with metal, they created a joint that could handle these subtle, daily stresses without cracking. The metal acted as a shock absorber, allowing the entire structure to flex and sway during an earthquake instead of shattering. This was seismic engineering on a monumental scale, a hidden network of metallic ligaments that gave stone skeletons a surprising resilience. The widespread, independent invention of this technique points to a universal truth. When faced with the same fundamental challenge of making massive structures last, human ingenuity, no matter where it blooms, often converges on brilliantly similar paths. This silent network of metal hidden within stone makes you wonder, what other unseen forces did ancient builders learn to master within their sacred spaces? This pursuit of an invisible power leads us to the next secret, one not felt with the hands but heard with the soul. Deep beneath the sun-baked island of Malta lies a sanctuary of sound, a labyrinth carved from soft limestone known as the Hypogeum. This is not a structure built upward, but one excavated downward, a sacred underground world where architecture and acoustics merge into something otherworldly. Within its oval chambers and serpentine corridors, sound behaves in ways that defy simple explanation. A low chant or the beat of a drum does not merely echo, it transforms. In the so-called oracle chamber, a voice spoken into a specific carved niche does not just bounce back, it is amplified and distorted, seeming to emanate from the very walls and floor, a disembodied vibration that feels both ancient and alive. The secret etched into this stone is one of precision. The Neolithic builders did not accidentally stumble upon these properties, they engineered them. They carved the chambers with specific curvatures, angles, and volumes to manipulate sound waves with intention. Modern acoustic studies have revealed that certain resonances in the Hypogeum fall within a specific frequency range that can influence human brain activity, potentially inducing states of heightened awareness or deep meditation. This was sonic architecture as a spiritual technology. In the flickering torchlight, with the air thick with reverberation, the space itself would have seemed to speak. The rhythmic breathing of a gathered group, a solitary priestess's invocation, all would be woven by the architecture into an immersive, overwhelming sensory experience. This deliberate manipulation of sound transformed ritual into a visceral, unforgettable event, making the metaphysical feel tangibly present. It demonstrates an intuitive, profound understanding of physics that we are only now beginning to measure. a hidden dimension of sacred space where the very air was sculpted to carry meaning. This mastery over an invisible force to shape human experience prompts a question about another fundamental element of life. How did entire cities learn to manipulate their environment to ensure comfort and survival on a grand scale? In the quiet elegance of a traditional Japanese home, the building itself breathes with the seasons. Deeply overhanging eaves cast long, cooling shadows across tatami mat floors during the sweltering summer months, while in winter, the lower sun angles allow precious warmth to slide deep into the interior. This is not a static structure, but a dynamic environmental partner. The Ingawa, a graceful wooden veranda that encircles the home, acts as a fluid boundary between inside and out. It is a space for transition where air moves freely, pulled through the home by the strategic opening of paper shoji screens. These screens are marvels of material science, their translucent paper diffusing harsh sunlight into a soft, even glow while still permitting a gentle breeze to pass. The entire system operates on a profound understanding of passive principles. Airflow is not forced but guided, as cool air is drawn from shaded areas below the floor and warm air escapes through high, hidden vents. The materials themselves are chosen for their thermodynamic intelligence. The earthen walls and thick thatched roofs possess significant thermal mass, absorbing heat during the day and releasing it slowly during the cool nights, naturally regulating the interior temperature. This architectural philosophy, deeply rooted in Shinto and Buddhist principles, views the building not as a fortress against nature, but as a delicate mediator. Every element, from the angle of a roof to the porosity of a screen, is a calculated response to sun paths, prevailing winds, and seasonal humidity. It is a lived-in almanac, a physical manifestation of harmony where human comfort is achieved through collaboration with the natural world, not domination over it. This sophisticated mastery of climate without any moving parts or external power reveals a universal human quest for comfort, a quest that in other parts of the world led builders to tap into the very heat of the planet itself. While the Japanese home worked in delicate harmony with the air, Roman architects mastered the very ground beneath their feet, tapping into the earth's own fiery heart. Beneath the sprawling marble floors of their legendary bathhouses, a hidden furnace of innovation roared to life. This was the Hypocaust system, a masterpiece of practical thermodynamics that transformed daily life. Slaves would tirelessly feed wood into a great furnace, its flames heating the air in a carefully engineered void beneath the raised floor. This hot air was then channeled through hollow box tiles embedded within the walls, creating a radiant heat that warmed the entire space from the ground up. The engineering precision was breathtaking. The floors had to be thick enough to hold the heat without cracking, the walls designed with just the right cavities to allow the air to circulate without losing its warmth, and the entire system vented through roof flues to create a steady, powerful draft. This was not just about comfort, it was about controlling an elemental force on a massive scale. In places like Bath, England, they went even further, ingeniously channeling the water from natural hot springs directly into these complexes, blending geothermal gift with human invention. These heated spaces became the social and cultural hearts of Roman towns, centers for bathing, business, and conversation. They promoted a standard of public hygiene and communal well-being that would not be seen again in Europe for over 1,000 years. The Hypocaust was more than a heating system. It was a civilizing force, a hidden network of warmth that supported the vibrant life of the city above. This mastery over what lay beneath the surface, channeling both water and warmth, finds a parallel in another, even more critical form of underground engineering, one that dealt not with the comforts of life, but with its unavoidable necessities. While the Hypocaust channeled warmth beneath Roman floors, Another hidden network flowed deep below the city streets, a system so vital it shaped the very ground upon which Rome was built. The Cloaca Maxima began its life not as a sewer, but as a bold act of land reclamation. In the 6th century before the Common Era, the low-lying areas between Rome's famous 7 hills were nothing but pestilent marshes, unfit for building or for life. The early engineers conceived a monumental solution, a massive covered channel that would drain these swampy waters directly into the Tiber River. They were not just managing waste, they were literally creating new land from nothing, pushing back the water to claim solid earth for their expanding city. This single drain evolved over centuries into a vast, complex web of underground tunnels, a true architectural secret that enabled Rome to swell into a metropolis of nearly 1 million people. The engineering was as brilliant as it was enduring. The Romans built these sewers with a consistent, gentle gradient, using gravity to ensure a constant, self-cleansing flow. They constructed them with vaulted ceilings, an arched form that distributed the immense weight of the city above and resisted collapse for centuries. This was not a hidden, shameful place, but a point of civic pride maintained by the state and even honored with its own goddess. The system's success rested on a profound, holistic understanding. It connected public health directly to urban planning, recognizing that a city could not grow tall and mighty if its foundations were poisoned. By managing water and waste with such foresight, they solved multiple problems at once. They created stable land for buildings and forums. They reduced the spread of waterborne illness, and they provided a clean environment that supported a density of population unheard of in the ancient world. The true legacy of the Cloaca Maxima is the revelation that a civilization's grandeur is often defined by what it chooses to bury, by the invisible, utilitarian works that make the glorious life above possible. This Roman mastery over water's exit from the city stands in fascinating contrast to another ancient culture's approach, one that focused not on expelling water, but on inviting it in, on creating breathtaking monuments to its sacred arrival. Descending into a stepwell feels like entering an inverted palace, a world carved not toward the sky, but into the earth's cool embrace. Across the arid plains of India, these magnificent structures, known as baolis or valves, are masterpieces of hydrological and social engineering. They are far more than simple wells. They are multi-story subterranean edifices, a cascading staircase of precisely carved steps leading ever downward to the water's edge. Their brilliant architectural secret lies in this very form, a design that solves two critical challenges at once. The steps provided reliable access to the vital water table, which could plunge dramatically during the long, dry seasons, ensuring a community's survival even in times of drought. But simultaneously, this stepped configuration created a vast, sheltered public square hidden from the blazing sun above. As you descend, the air grows noticeably cooler, often by 10 degrees or more. This natural air conditioning is a result of the deep Earth's constant temperature and the large surface area of the stone steps and walls, which release stored coolness into the space. This created a vital microclimate, a cool refuge from the oppressive heat where daily life could continue. Pillared pavilions and exquisitely carved niches transformed these functional reservoirs into breathtaking works of art and centers of civic life. Women gathering water would socialize, traders would meet, and travelers would find rest and conversation in the shaded galleries. This fusion of absolute utility with beautiful social space represents a holistic vision of architecture, one that served the body, the community, and the spirit in a single, elegant design. This profound understanding of the stepwell as a social heart makes us wonder how other ancient cultures engineered spaces specifically to bring people together for shared experience. A thunderous roar echoed not from wild beasts, but from 50,000 voices rising as one inside the Flavian amphitheater, the Colosseum. This colossal structure was more than a stage for spectacle. It was a masterclass in human flow. The secret to managing such an immense crowd lay in a brilliant architectural network of 80 arched passageways known as vomitoria. These were not what their name might suggest to a modern ear, but rather rapid discharge gates for people. Through this system, the entire audience could be seated or emptied in a matter of minutes, a feat that rivals the efficiency of any modern sports arena. The elliptical shape of the building was not an aesthetic whim. This oval form ensured that every seat, from the senator in the front row to the common citizen in the highest tier, had a direct and unobstructed view of the action below. It also created a natural acoustic shell, capturing and projecting sound so that every announcement and clash of arms could be heard clearly throughout the space. But the engineering marvels extended far beneath the sand-covered floor. A subterranean world called the Hypogeum thrived in shadow, a labyrinth of tunnels, ramps, and pulley-driven lifts. Here, caged animals, elaborate stage sets, and gladiators waited for their moment. Through a series of trapdoors and elevators, they could be dramatically revealed onto the main stage as if by magic, transforming the arena floor in an instant. This hidden machinery was the backbone of the spectacle, a testament to Roman ingenuity in manipulating both space and suspense. The Colosseum stands as a powerful lesson in designing for the crowd itself, creating a space that was not only monumental but functionally flawless. This Roman pursuit of the perfect public venue finds a fascinating parallel in the Americas, where an entirely different culture engineered their own monumental spaces for a game that was far more than a sport. The echoing roar of the Roman crowds gives way to a different kind of sound, a single whisper traveling with impossible clarity across a stone court deep in the Maya world. These were not arenas for simple sport, but eye-shaped ceremonial grounds flanked by towering, sloping walls. High upon these walls, solid stone rings were mounted, targets for a heavy rubber ball that players had to propel using only their hips, knees, and elbows. The game was a sacred reenactment, a ritual that mirrored the mythic battles of the hero twins from the Maya sacred text, the Popol Vuh, who famously defeated the gods of the underworld in a bowl game. Victory on this court was a matter of life, death, and cosmic order, with the outcome believed to influence the sun's journey and the arrival of rain. The architectural secret of these spaces is woven into their very stone, a phenomenon of acoustics that feels almost supernatural. A person standing at one end of the court can speak in a hushed tone, and their words will be heard with perfect clarity by someone at the far opposite end. This was no accident of construction. The precise angles of the sloping walls and the calculated dimensions of the court itself acted as a giant stone amplifier, turning the space into a whispering gallery. In the tense silence before a game or during a pivotal ritual, this acoustic trick would have seemed like the voice of the gods themselves, speaking directly through the architecture. The alignment of many courts with celestial events, like the path of the sun at the solstice, further cemented their role as a nexus between the earthly realm and the cosmos. The court was seen as a portal to the underworld, and the game's conclusion held profound consequences for the participants. Historical accounts and artistic depictions suggest that the final act of this cosmic drama could involve a ceremonial conclusion for the losing team, a practice that underscored the game's immense spiritual stakes. This integration of sport, sacred sound, and celestial alignment created an overwhelming sensory experience, reinforcing the power of the ruling class and uniting the community around a shared, potent belief system. The Ballcourt was a masterwork of ideological control. a place where architecture, religion, and politics fused into a single, unforgettable spectacle. This profound use of a labyrinthine space for ritual and power finds a parallel in a completely different culture, where a different kind of labyrinth was designed not for the sound of a game, but to confuse and control all who entered. A single whisper could be lost forever in the winding passages of the Palace of Knossos. This was not a simple royal home, but a sprawling, multi-story complex so bewildering in its design that it likely gave birth to one of history's most enduring legends, the tale of the Minotaur and its inescapable labyrinth. The architectural secret here was not about creating a confusing maze for its own sake, but about organizing a bustling, multifunctional city in miniature around a central, beating heart. All life in the palace radiated from a vast central courtyard. Around this open space, rooms and corridors were clustered in an asymmetrical yet brilliantly functional plan. This layout was a masterstroke of environmental design. Light wells, carefully positioned shafts that channeled sunlight deep into the building's core, ensured that even interior rooms were bathed in natural light, while also promoting a constant flow of fresh air for ventilation. This created a comfortable, breathable environment within the thick walls. The complexity provided a degree of privacy and security, separating the royal quarters from the bustling administrative offices, the sacred shrines from the massive storerooms that held the wealth of the empire. This was an early form of integrated urban design, all contained under one vast, intricate roof, but the Minoan genius extended far beyond the floor plan. They lived on an island shaken by frequent earthquakes, and so they built to withstand them. Their walls were constructed with wooden beams framed within the stone, a technique known as a seismic construction. During a tremor, this wooden skeleton would flex and absorb the energy, allowing the entire structure to sway and settle instead of cracking apart. Below the floors, another marvel awaited. The Minoans developed one of the world's first comprehensive plumbing systems, with terracotta pipes for both bringing in fresh water and carrying waste away, featuring a sophisticated design that used tapered ends to create watertight seals. The palace was a living organism, a hub for religion, trade, governance, and craft production, all functioning in a complex, interwoven dance. With such deep, windowless corridors and interior rooms, a practical mystery emerges. How did they illuminate these shadowed spaces without filling them with smoke from torches? The answer lies in a simple yet transformative trick of the light. Even the deepest corridor in Knossos could be bathed in a gentle, smokeless glow. The Minoans solved the problem of interior lighting not with dangerous open flames, but with a clever manipulation of reflection. They used highly polished bronze mirrors, strategically placed to catch sunlight from a courtyard or light well, and bounce it deep into the windowless rooms of the palace. This was not merely a practical hack, it was an early form of optical engineering, turning captured daylight into a manageable, safe resource. This mastery over light as a tangible building material finds one of its most dramatic expressions not in the heart of the Mediterranean, but in the rose-red city of Petra. There, the famous treasury facade is not just a sculpture, it is a carefully calibrated solar instrument. The entire structure is carved with a precise orientation, its face angled to interact with the sun's journey in a very specific way. During certain key moments of the year, the low-angled sunlight slips through the canyon, striking the facade not as a uniform wash, but as a focused beam. It illuminates the central tholos, the circular structure at the very top, with an intense, almost supernatural spotlight. In the shadowed depths of the Sick, this sudden burst of light would have felt nothing short of miraculous, a divine endorsement carved by the sun itself. The secret is the Nabatean architects' sophisticated understanding of solar geometry. They did not just carve a beautiful building, they programmed the sun into their design. They calculated the angle of the rock face, the depth of the niches, and the height of the tholos to harness sunlight as a dynamic, theatrical component. This transformed a static monument into a living, breathing spectacle that changed with the seasons, marking sacred times and elevating a political structure into a spiritual beacon. This intentional play of light and shadow was a language, one that spoke of power, divinity, and a deep connection to the cosmos. It proves that the greatest architectural secrets are not always about the stone itself, but about the invisible energies, the light and the angles that bring that stone to life. This deliberate encoding of celestial knowledge into rock prompts a deeper question. If they could write with sunlight on a facade, what other kinds of profound information did ancient cultures embed within their most sacred walls? A profound stillness guards the secrets within the Temple of Inscriptions at Palenque. This Maya pyramid is far more than a monument. It is a three-dimensional book carved from limestone, its pages written in alignment, iconography, and hidden space. For centuries, the temple's purpose was a mystery, until archaeologists discovered a hidden stairway deep within its core, leading down into the heart of the pyramid itself. There, they found the royal crypt of Palenque the Great, sealed for over 1,000 years. The centerpiece of this chamber was a massive, intricately carved stone lid covering his sarcophagus, a sprawling tableau that depicts the ruler's transformative journey at the moment of his passing. He is shown descending along the world tree, a cosmic axis that connects the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. This is not a simple scene of an individual's final rest, but a complex map of Maya cosmology, densely packed with astronomical symbols and calendrical signs that mark his passage through time and space. The architectural secret here is the intentional, layered encoding of knowledge. The temple's alignment with the setting sun on specific dates, the tomb's deliberate placement deep within the earthly pyramid, and the detailed iconography on the lid all work in concert to tell a single, unified story about death, rebirth, and the celestial order. This was a permanent record of belief, built to outlast empires and resist the erosion of time. By embedding their most sacred narratives into the very fabric of their architecture, the Maya ensured the preservation of their culture's core principles far beyond the fragile reach of oral tradition. The pyramid became a silent teacher, a repository of wisdom meant for the ages. This profound drive to communicate with the future through stone makes you wonder, what is the ultimate material for a message that must last forever? The answer lies in a substance so hard it can defy the very elements for millennia. Granite is a material that fights back, one of the hardest stones on Earth. For the ancient Egyptians, this was not a barrier but an invitation. To carve an 80-ton obelisk from the living rock of a swan required more than brute strength. It demanded a deep, patient understanding of the stone's own nature. Their primary tools were surprisingly simple, hard dolerite pounding stones. Teams of workers would have rhythmically hammered away at the granite surface, not to smash it, but to pulverize it grain by grain. This was a battle of persistence where the sheer repetitive force of human labor, sustained over months and years, could eventually define a perfect monolithic shape within the quarry bed. But pounding alone could not achieve a smooth surface or a precise cut. For that, they turned to a cleverer technology, sand. By using a copper saw, or even a simple wooden drill weighted down with stones, and feeding it with wet sand as an abrasive, they unlocked a powerful cutting action. The hard quartz particles in the sand, dragged back and forth under pressure, did the real work of grinding through the granite. This was a form of early power tooling, harnessing the inherent hardness of one natural material to master another. Some researchers even suggest they may have used thermal shock, building fires along a desired fracture line, and then rapidly cooling the hot stone with water, causing it to split cleanly. The true secret, however, was not just the tools, but the immense social organization behind them. Quarrying a single obelisk was a monumental communal project, requiring overseers, skilled stone workers, and countless laborers working in a coordinated symphony of effort. This ability to shape granite allowed the Egyptians to build for eternity. An obelisk with its gleaming cap of electrum was more than a monument. It was a frozen ray of the sun god, a permanent connection between the earth and the heavens. A granite sarcophagus was not merely a container, it was an indestructible vessel for the soul's journey. The immense effort invested in this stubborn stone reveals a civilization that measured value in millennia, not in years. This obsession with perfect, stable forms carved from the Earth's toughest materials naturally required a language of precision, a set of rules to ensure that every angle and every surface would hold true for the ages. A doorway in an Inca wall is not a simple rectangle, but a trapezoid, wider at the base and narrowing toward the top. This single, elegant shape holds the key to their architectural immortality in the earthquake-prone Andes. The Incas understood something profound that modern engineering confirms: sharp corners are points of weakness, while sloping sides distribute stress. When the ground shakes, the force travels upward through a structure. A rectangular frame will rack and deform, its right angles straining until they crack. But a trapezoidal opening redirects that energy, compressing it inward and downward, allowing the entire wall to flex as a unified, resilient whole. This principle extended to every niche and window, creating a symphony of stable forms. The genius did not stop at the openings. The walls themselves leaned subtly inward, and multi-ton stones were often slightly rounded at their edges. This created an interlocking system that, during a tremor, would allow the stones to settle and compact rather than topple. Their foundations were another masterstroke, often consisting of layers of different-sized stones that could shift and absorb seismic shock like a shock absorber. This was not written in a textbook, but learned through generations of observing how the earth moves and how stone responds. It was an empirical science, a deep cultural memory of disaster and recovery encoded into mortarless masonry. This wisdom allowed their cities to cling to impossible mountain slopes for centuries, not in spite of the volatile landscape, but because they learned to build in conversation with its power. This profound focus on a stable base, on creating a foundation that could handle immense and shifting loads, forces us to look deeper, to the very ground upon which the greatest weights of the ancient world were placed. The same principle of a stable foundation finds its ultimate expression in the layered platforms of the Mesopotamian Ziggurat. These towering stepped pyramids did not rise from solid bedrock, but from the soft, unstable alluvial soil of the river valley, a landscape with no natural stone. To build high here was to defy the very ground you stood on. The solution was a foundation of breathtaking scale and intelligence. They constructed massive, raised platforms from countless sun-dried mud bricks, then encased this core in a protective shell of far more durable baked bricks. This was not a single homogeneous slab, but a composite system, a carefully engineered cake of different materials. The softer, more abundant mud brick formed a stable, compacted core that distributed the immense weight of the entire structure over a vast area, preventing it from sinking into the yielding earth. The hard, fired brick casing acted as a waterproof shield, protecting the vulnerable core from the region's rare but destructive rains. This understanding of soil mechanics, of how to manage load and prevent subsidence, was an architectural secret hidden beneath the sand. But this foundational genius served a dual purpose, one both practical and profoundly spiritual. By raising the temple complex high upon this artificial mountain, the builders did more than just solve an engineering problem. They lifted their holiest places above the floodplain, bringing them physically closer to the heavens and the gods they sought to honor. In the utterly flat Mesopotamian plain, the Ziggurat became a man-made peak, a cosmic axis visible for miles in every direction, a constant reminder of divine connection rising from the most unlikely of grounds. This ability to create stable, elevated ground where none existed prompts a final, astonishing question. If they could build high on unstable earth, could an entire civilization learn to build not on the earth at all, but directly upon the water itself? The final secret in our journey is a city that should not have existed at all. Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, was a metropolis of canals and gardens floating upon the waters of Lake Texcoco. Its architectural foundation was a triumph over soft, unstable earth, built upon thousands of wooden piles driven deep into the lakebed. These pilings created a stable lattice upon which the entire city could rest, a hidden wooden skeleton that held the stone and plaster of temples and homes safely above the water. But the true genius of Tenochtitlan was not just in its foundations, but in its symbiotic relationship with the lake itself. The Aztecs expanded their livable land by constructing chinampas, artificial islands built from woven reeds and layers of rich mud dredged from the lake bottom. These were not mere rafts, they were anchored to the lake floor by willow trees whose roots would grow down, locking the islands into place and creating incredibly fertile floating gardens that fed the massive population. A grid of canals served as the city's streets, navigated by countless canoes, while 3 great causeways connected the island to the mainland, equipped with bridges that could be removed for defense. This entire aquatic world required a masterful command of water itself. The Aztecs constructed an elaborate system of dikes to separate the fresh water fed by springs from the brackish water of the lake, controlling salinity to protect their chinampas and ensure a supply of fresh water. An aqueduct brought additional fresh water from the mainland springs, channeling it directly into the heart of the city. This complex hydraulic engineering supported a population of perhaps 200,000 people, making Tenochtitlan one of the largest and most vibrant cities on Earth at its time. It was a place where architecture and infrastructure were one, a living system perfectly adapted to its environment. The 25 secrets we have explored, from walking statues to cities of sound, are more than just historical footnotes. They are a testament to a universal human drive to solve impossible problems, to reshape our world with nothing but observation, ingenuity, and collective will. Each one represents a different facet of the same truth, that the foundations of civilization were laid not by chance but by design. These 25 secrets, scattered across continents and centuries, are not isolated marvels but different expressions of a single, profound truth. Ancient builders possessed a unified vision of the world, where physics, astronomy, and human society were not separate fields but interconnected parts of a whole. They were the original systems thinkers, observing how wind interacts with water, how stone responds to stress, and how sound shapes human consciousness, then weaving all of it into their designs. Their legacy is far greater than the monuments they left behind. It is a timeless blueprint for resilience. In an age of abundant energy and advanced materials, we are now rediscovering the wisdom of passive cooling, seismic flexibility, and water conservation that they perfected out of sheer necessity. Their work stands as a powerful challenge to our modern assumptions, proving that true ingenuity is not born from limitless resources, but often flourishes most brilliantly within the tightest constraints. These architectural secrets were the engines of civilization, the innovations that allowed communities to stabilize their food supply, protect their people from the elements, and create spaces that reinforce their shared identity and beliefs. They transformed wandering groups into enduring cultures, enabling them to not just survive, but to build a world worthy of passing down for generations. This collective genius invites us to look at our own world with fresh eyes, to wonder what future generations will see when they study the foundations we are laying today. These 25 ancient blueprints form a single, stunning truth. Our ancestors did not merely build structures, they engineered civilizations by observing the world with a profound, holistic wisdom. They saw the wind not as an obstacle but as a tool for cooling. They understood that stones could be made to dance during an earthquake, and that the path of the stars could be mapped onto the desert floor. Each secret, from the resilient trapezoidal doors of the Incas to the celestial shafts of the Great Pyramid, represents a unique fusion of patient observation, bold innovation, and sheer human determination. These were not random acts of construction, but deliberate, knowledge-driven endeavors that solved the most fundamental challenges of survival, community, and belief. They transformed wandering tribes into enduring empires, creating a foundation for human society that has lasted for millennia. As you look at the modern world around you, at the cities and systems that define your daily life, remember that their deepest roots are anchored in these ancient masterpieces of ingenuity. The stones have spoken across the centuries, and their lessons in resilience, harmony, and collective will are truly timeless. We would love to hear which of these 25 secrets amazed you the most, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of our past, subscribe for more explorations that uncover the hidden stories written in stone, earth, and